Well, you know what? Whether it's offshore, onshore, or nearshore, the sourcing strategy has got to be the same. And there really is, it's an easy way to put a sourcing strategy together by answering 5 questions. The first question is why? Why are you even talking about outsourcing? What values do you intend to get from that deal? And I want you to have the right kinds of why. Tied to business goals, tied to business objectives, tied to streamlining and stabilizing your environment, but clearly articulate why you're getting into that deal. The next question is what? What do you want to outsource or insource? And you need to go through a decisioning model where you map out all of the things that you are providing for your environment, all the services, all the processes that you're delivering, and map out whether you're good at them, whether it makes sense to continually reinvesting in your own resources, or if that's something you need an external competency for. And that could be because you want to get those skills faster or quicker because of the business demands. So you need to look at what might you want to outsource. The next question is who. And it really is who's the best resource, or who are the best resources to provide the services. And that could be your own in-source resource, it could be outsourced services, it could be a combination of multiple service providers. So we need to look at who are the best at providing those unique services that we need to be delivered to our end users to deliver on their business objectives. The next is how. How are those services going to be delivered? And you have multiple options. There's many different ways to set up outsourcing deals. You can have a prime contractor, you can have a sole source contractor, you can have best of breed when you're bringing in multiple providers with each niche skills. So it depends on how you're going to manage that deal, how many providers you may want in the door that you even have the ability to orchestrate together, because that's a huge skill, and how they're all going to interrelate together is something that you need to look at. So you need to figure out how you want that service delivered. And lastly is where. Where do you want that service delivered from? It could be somebody in country, it could be a nearshore location, or it could be an offshore vendor supplying those services 7,000 miles away. Each one of those has unique contracting and relationship and governance characteristics that need to be considered when you're making that decision. So where also sets up a trigger for different contracting models that need to be taken into consideration. So you really need to just answer the 5 sourcing strategy questions to get through an end state and build the effective sourcing strategy for your organization. The evaluating and selecting whether choosing to be an onshore and offshore provider really is unique characteristics you want for your organization. The first and foremost thing that you need to have for an evaluation model is a unified strategy. And that is everybody who's going to be looking at that vendor response coming in the door needs to evaluate the proposal the same way. And so you need to figure out the proper weighting and the criteria for evaluation so it's done fairly and equitably across all the vendor proposals coming in. Some of the key characteristics to look for in an evaluation model are cost, cultural fit, especially if you're going to be choosing an offshore provider, maturity of the provider and the processes that they deliver, stability of the provider. And that's something that you need to take a look at the risks. And if you're choosing a small Tier 3 or Tier 2 provider, that might be a more risky venture than choosing a large Tier 1 provider. But to then have to balance out that you might be paying a different cost model to get those services delivered. You might want to look at the technology components. Did the vendor truly respond to the proposal and hit all the elements that you were looking for so you can ensure that they're going to be delivering services the way you want in the method that's going to fit your organization? You also need to take a look at customer references. There is such value in talking to people who've had that service delivered. And I would even suggest not only talking to them on the phone, but going and having a face-to-face meeting. You will get a lot more insights on that vendor performance when you're looking at somebody sitting across from the table, eye to eye, versus just having a phone conversation. Other things to look at might be transition. That's a huge step you're going to be taking. It's a leap of faith that that service provider is going to be delivering the services effectively. We want to make sure that that transition plan is very detailed and you can see that milestones are going to be delivered so that you can ensure that you are getting the value and the services that you contracted for. So you really need to take a look at all those different elements and again put weighting characteristics on each one of those and ensure that everybody on the evaluation team understands the same criteria and how they're going to be weighted before those proposals come in.